Well, hello again, everyone. You might remember this from my podcast episode about the saga of trying to attain the Llewellyn's Witch's Datebook for 2019. As we are nearing the end of 2019, I ordered this at the beginning of October. I will not be caught out again, because using this year has really confirmed to me that this is definitely my favourite one. So I wanted to show you a little bit about this one, just in case it was something you were interested in getting for the coming year, and just sort of like how it worked out for me as a colouring book. So just to start with this one, I'll give you a look at the Witch's Datebook for 2020 as well in a second. But so this is the Magical Planner, Planner for a Magical 2019 by Amy Cesare, colouring book of shadows. I got the spiral bound version. It's held up quite well, although to be fair, it has just been on my desk. It has a lot of information in it, lots of things that you can colour, especially like the Wheel of the Year and things. My issue came with the fact that I could not colour it well, and I'll show you what I mean, because I did a few experiments. This page was watercolour pencils. As you can see, it went crinkly because of the water. Now I expected it to be slightly crinkly because obviously when paper gets wet it crinkles, but I was hoping that it would smooth out a little bit, but because it's quite grainy colouring book paper, it didn't smooth out as well as I thought. But you can get a reasonably good effect on it with the watercolour pencils, and I was quite pleased with this page in general. This one I did just with regular pencils. This came out obviously quite well. I mean, artistically I'm not the best, but as in, like, they came out nicely on the page. I didn't have a lot of, complaints to say about colouring it with pencils. Then I tried pens. You may have seen a quick flash of what happened there. There's all these like nice things that I wanted to colour in. I did this Maven page with felt tip pens. Unfortunately, it ruined the page on the other side because it's soaked through. Now on this one, just to quickly show you, I've written my name on page 1 with an ink pen. It hasn't soaked through at all to the other side. And that was quite an inky italic marker. Whereas this, the ink soaked through quite a lot. Maybe if I coloured more on the Witch's Datebook it would come through the paper, but yeah, I just wasn't here for a colouring book that you can only colour with pencils and you can't really get creative with or use pens on. I did really like some of the art. As you can see, it's quite attractive. These little pages. There are occasionally some sort of cartoony animals, which I didn't really care for that much. But I think for the most part it was quite a good book. I just didn't get a huge amount of use out of it. Because one, the colouring didn't interest me a huge amount once I realised that I could only use pencils. I'm not a colouring person in general, but I thought I'd give this one a try. And also because the information that it gives you on the different sections where it actually gives you craft information isn't terribly in depth, and it wasn't really interesting to me. There's the stuff about like spellcasting basics, which could be pretty useful, but again, because it's printed like double page, I couldn't really cut that out and keep it. So unfortunately I didn't make a huge amount of use out of this book. You'll see a lot of it is blank because I ended up using the calendar on my phone, and was a little bit disappointed that I didn't get a huge amount of use out of it. Which is probably mostly my fault. I just didn't carry it around with me because it was quite chunky. So I ended up just not using it for things and using the calendar on my phone. However, if you're interested in colouring, things like that, if you're obviously a little bit younger than me, probably more interested in colouring, or if you just find colouring a soothing hobby, you might want to invest in that for 2020. Please ignore this pile of mess. Anyway, my favourite so far of witchy planners that I've tried has been the Llewellyn's Witch's Datebook. I like it because it's quite thin-ish, easy to put in your bag. It's got this nice robust spiral binding, the covers, and also at the beginning it tells you all like how to use it, what all the symbols are, but then you have full little articles that have been written by people that you can read if you're out and about and bored and you've forgotten to bring a book with you. So for instance, this one is about retrogrades, several pages long. Then you've got daily chakra healing. All of this is like double-sided as well, so I can't really cut this out and keep it. Pop culture protection magic. Crafting your own sacred schedule. Working with Hecate, which I think will probably be interesting for quite a lot of people. And then you get your like month to view grid pattern. This tends to be the page that I use the most in these books. I think I didn't really use the day pages in this one, but the grid of the month I tended to use more. Apparently not in July, but other months. And then over here you have your little days. I tend not to use these pages, I tend to just use the months. But then you have these little sections where you can cut out and keep it, because on the back is just diary stuff. So you're not losing anything once you've finished using the diary by just cutting these sections out. And they're about lots of different things. You get artwork. It's not in colour or anything, but it is pretty cool and I like keeping these. And obviously in the book it tells you when there's full moons, crescent moons, and on the individual days all the information about the planets and like where the moon is and all that good stuff that you need to know. I just really like it. It's super easy to use and I'm familiar with it, which is probably why I prefer it. At the back you have this notes section. The moon course data for 2020, eclipses, full moons, planetary retrogrades. You could just cut that out and stick it straight into your book of shadows. This I think is the same as it was last year, so obviously if you already have one of these you probably wouldn't need this section again. You could just take that, but you get a little herb chart, gemstones, chakras, lunar phases, moon sign, daily magical influences and colour correspondences. So some useful information to have, maybe if you're out and about shopping, looking for some stuff. Yeah, I really like this, and I got mine for about £8 from Amazon and it came within like a week or so. You can also order it on eBay, people are selling it at the moment. So last time I tried ordering it in December, and then mid-February or something I was like, why hasn't it arrived? And it turned out there was like a 3-month waiting list. So if you want this diary, I would go ahead and buy it soonish. This one tends to be more available, but do make sure that you get the spiral bound version. There is a paperback version that I had the misfortune to purchase before this one. This one I had to buy from lulu.com. The spiral bound version makes colouring obviously a lot easier because you can open the pages out fully, and it makes it easier to remove pages that you might want to keep. I also love that it gives a little safety briefing about fire. That's pretty cool. So yeah, both good planners. I just prefer this one, and this one wasn't really for me. But let me know how you get on and send me any recommendations for other planners for me to try next year. Hi guys, it's me with an update on the herbiary. As you can see, it's getting quite fat, to the point where I don't know that I can safely stick much more stuff in this because it's getting a bit unwieldy. Progress did get stalled a little bit because I had to order some more special Parker pen ink cartridges for my fountain pen because I wanted the notes in here to be the same colour. Those came after like a week and they were black instead of blue, but by that point I was like, fuck it, I need to use them anyway. Still haven't put the title on, I'm a bit scared, but I have some italic writing craft pens now, so that's going to be fun. I've also been using some really fun stickers that I got in packs on eBay. I'll try and find them again and put links in the description. These ones came and they were a little bit big, and also the backgrounds are white and not like clear, which is slightly disappointing, but I do have a lot of them, and I'm going to use those for something, don't you worry. So I've been filling this in a couple of pages every weekend, and I'm currently like here. this is the pages that I still have left to fill in, and these are the ones that I've done. It's actually ridiculously time consuming to do this, because obviously you've got to look up all the stuff on like multiple websites, kind of check them against each other to see what's right, write down my own associations as well so that I kind of have a record of those, and then also write all that stuff down neatly and then decorate it with stickers and stuff, which is not necessary, but it is fun. And also I have something else going on at the back, which I'm going to start with. So basically what I've been doing is keeping an index, because this is the part of the Llewellyn's Book of Incense, Oils and Brews that I use so much. I tend to just look up what I want to do magic for, like for example purification, and then just find what herbs that I have on that list if I'm like whacking together a charm bag or something really quickly, or making incense. And I've got all the page numbers here as well, so I can refer to the individual herbs. So that means every time I finish writing out a page, I then have to come to the back and check off all of these different correspondences to see what fits with what, and then write it down. And it started with obviously the big ones like love, protection, healing, but then kind of branched off into some other smaller categories, which aren't covered in the Llewellyn's book, which I kind of needed to look up and put more on, and there's space to like add a few more at the bottom here. This is the picture that came in the sticker packet. It was like the backing card, so I've just put that in there to like decorate these at some point. I've also been writing some spell type things, like just recipes and stuff using the herbs that I've been writing about, and there's a little bit here about, you know, how each one works. I've got grief bath salts. I think I spelled grief wrong, which I'm just terrible at spelling, we're just going to have to let that go. And I've got hex vinegar, which I made last weekend. So recipes are going to go in the back, herbs at the front. I think last time I showed this to you guys, I'd only done like these pages at the beginning. To be honest, they have gotten a little less detailed as I've gone through, just because there were so many herbs that did so many of the same things that I just started really writing down for the more exotic ones what they do that's different, because obviously it's going to be easier for me to find things like stinging nettles than it is to find various other plants. But you can kind of see that I've gone through. Again, I've been writing the keywords on the pictures, adding these little sticker accents here and there, and just generally like writing a little bit about the medicinal uses as well. Not really because I'm going to use this for like medical treatment, but because I'm going to use this as kind of a reference guide to what else they can be used for magically. For example, if something's a sedative for nerves or anxiety, as is the case with chamomile, you can probably use it in spells to do with peace. So those two things kind of feed into each other. These are the pictures from another book which I didn't like as much. Lavender, actually quite not very many uses, which I was surprised about, but there you go. And this is where I obviously started to use the new stickers that I had. I've got like little bunches of herbs, I've got stuff about heather, lupins. I've tried to make a little note on there when it says it's poisonous, and use the astrological symbols as well. And yeah, I've just been going through, and what this is really helpful for is finding which are your like heavy hitting herbs, because you look at something like comfrey, which has like quite a lot on the page, and then you kind of go to something like, I did one earlier, lungwort, which is a good example, lots of sticker room on here. It doesn't really do a whole lot. It's associated mostly with protection during air travel, healing magic for the lungs. It multiplies quickly, so I've put that down as a fertility herb, because it's actually quite difficult to find herbs that are just for fertility. And I also put that it was autumnal, just for reference towards like when to use it in rituals and stuff. It's an air herb, a lot of blank space. But then you compare it to something like comfrey or to dwarf elder. There's a lot of stuff going on in dwarf elder, which was really interesting to find out about. And this is obviously a plant that is quite common where I live, so it's one I'm going to be using quite a bit and have used previously. I was really interested because it said to use it in Samhain and Yule incenses, and I actually used these in my Samhain incense last year, so hooray, I was ahead of the curve. I've tried to save some of my like skull stickers for the really poisonous herbs, so there's skulls in here. I did a couple of pages for this so far. And yeah, I'm getting to it eventually. You see that there's like less stuff written on these because I'm partially running out of steam, but also because I'm trying to cut it down to like less words and just get all the information in there so I have space to add stuff later. Now, so far this process of like writing those things in and cutting all of these bits out, sticking them in, and including all like the little headers and stuff, has taken me all of the Hellraiser movies, because I was watching those while I did this, and then nearly all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, because I watched up until the last one and then stopped. Now it's just a question of like sitting down and actually focusing and writing all this stuff in, so I'm trying to do like a couple of pages each weekend, and soon I will be at the end, or you know, the end for the native ones. I do want to add some pages about different things like cinnamon, ginger, which aren't native, but which I tend to use quite a lot. And that will obviously help to fill up all of this empty page-ness. But that's been my herbiary update. This has actually been really good for like teaching me about what herbs to use or plants that grow locally, which is saving me some time and money because I can just go out and find them. Although I'm not terribly good at identifying things yet. I can do like dandelions, bindweed, cleavers, nettles, but some of the more exotic stuff in here, broom I can obviously identify, we used to have that in the garden, but things like, you know, lady's mantle, I can find thistles, but yeah, these things are a little bit harder to find, harder to identify, and I want to make sure that I'm using the right things, so I'm trying very hard to learn what they look like. This book is, however, a bit cumbersome and I can't really take this out and about with me, and I may have to get like a leather cord or something to like tie it shut because it is getting a bit weighty and thick. But I am enjoying it. I do think this is a good exercise if you want to learn about herbs local to you and how to start using them, because all the information is basically free on the internet, and you can like fact check it across multiple sources. And all you really need is a notebook. I bought this one for 50p at the thrift sale, jumble sale, that's what I meant to say. At the jumble sale, 50p, you can get these quite cheaply in like a WH Smith or something for a couple of quid, and then you just need a book about herbs or local plants, which you can get in most charity shops, or you can print the images off the internet. Obviously that might get a bit expensive with ink, but you know, if you're at school, who's to know? And then you just print off the information, stick it in, and you have yourself a book in which you can write all your herb recipes and keep that separate to your book of shadows if you so want. So this has been my update on my herbiary, and I'm thinking of doing like a couple of other things to do with like witchy crafts and things, like how to make a book of shadows cover that looks really cool. I've seen a few videos about that and I want to experiment, so if you'd be interested in that, hit the thumbs up on this, and I will see you in the next one.